couple things I want to cover on these EVs. As you saw from this past 2 weeks, these broken EVs, these EV Teslas, couldn't be charged in the extreme cold, right? It's not only because of the car, because these chargers, right, could not work in the cold. And yeah, it's more reason why you should not get an electric vehicle. Another thing is both ways. They die in the cold, but then they burn down structures when they go on fire, right? These things are unstable, folks. These things are unstable. Their batteries are unstable. I have a Panasonic camera, right? I have a Panasonic camera, and the battery, it's a Panasonic camera DSLR. I bought in 2010. My battery, my original OEM battery, still works in this camera. Even after 10 to 15 years, it still works because they use high quality materials inside, right? I don't think these things are using high quality materials, right? I don't think they're using the Panasonic high level of materials, right? I think they're using cheap materials like, in the Chinese use. But they're not saying anything, right? They're not saying anything about that. These things are unstable. That's one thing I want to point out. They're unstable. Okay, the second thing I want to point out is this, it's a $60,000 battery replacement for the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I think most of the majority of the price ranges goes from $20,000 to $60,000, right? So basically, your car is a write-off, right? Think about it. You have maybe like a 5-year-old or 10-year-old Hyundai, right? If this battery goes, you got to pay $60,000, right? But yet the car value is maybe $20,000. So you're basically losing $60,000. So I made a little thing here. So say the market value of the car is $30,000. If the battery goes and you have to pay $40,000, guess what? The market value is still going to be $30,000. So it's a total loss of $40,000, right? So this what makes me wonder that used car dealers and OEM dealers are not going to touch used EVs for that reason. A lot of people will not touch EVs because of this, right? Eventually, you're going to have to replace that battery, right? And basically, these EV cars, are going into the junkyard. And that's a second thing. If these things all go in the junkyard with these batteries, God knows what's going to happen, right? God knows what kind of levels of a fire it's going to start, right? Or anything else. These things are going to start polluting the environment when they start, stacking up. Eventually, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen yet because a lot of people haven't bought them yet. But eventually, all these things are going to be sitting up in the junkyard, and then poof, you're going to have massive fires everywhere, right? So yeah, think about that. The market value is $30,000, but if the battery costs $40,000, you're losing $40,000. So used car dealers are not going to touch these EVs. Eventually, these things are going to be, stacking up somewhere because they're worthless. They're going to be totaled, completely worthless. And yeah, and the last thing I want to talk about is the reason why they are pushing EVs is with the digital ID system, right? Eventually, the governments of the world and the corporations want us on a digital ID so they can control us, track and trace us, right? This is the main reason. I think this is one of the reasons why they're pushing EVs hard. This is one of the most major points of their control grid is the EV vehicle, right? If without the EVs, their digital ID system doesn't work. Their digital ID system, it does not work. The digital passports, right? It's all about control, folks. It's nothing about saving the environment or saving money or anything like that. In fact, none of these things save environment. Okay. Let's go over one thing. Does it save money? It does not save money because this Tesla Model 3, it's the same size of a Honda Civic, right? And a Honda Civic is what, $30,000, and this is $60,000, and I'm talking about Canadian prices, right? So right there, you're not saving money. And you're not saving money in charging it up because we found out that a lot of people on YouTube already found out that charging these things actually costs more than gassing it up, right? Second, you're not saving the environment, right? You're not saving the environment because I think I already put up a meme showing that, what materials are required to build these batteries, right? You're basically destroying, you're destroying the environment. But digging up all these materials, right? Cobalt and all this other stuff, sodium or whatever you call it, nickel or whatever it is, right? So you're not saving the environment, right? And what is it? You're not saving time either. It takes about 40 minutes to an hour to charge these things, right? And you saw it here, right? Eventually, you're gonna have to start lining up to charge these things. So you're not saving time. So you're not saving the environment. You're not saving money. You're not saving time. It's a loss. It's a lose situation with these EVs, right? A lot of these YouTubers are pro EVs are not talking about this, right? They're not talking about the cost of society for these things, right? They're just saying, all they're talking about, how fast it's going, right? And how convenient it is. Okay, I'll give it to them. It does go fast, but I think that's the only benefit of these things, how it go fast. There's too many negatives on these things, right? So yeah, another thing is funny that these things are not being recalled by the governments. Just want to stop the video for a second. So this is a recall database from the government of Canada, and I brought Tesla, and look what you see here, folks. Look what you see here. You don't see anything about the battery or fires or anything like that. You only see, accessories, structure, right? There's nothing about fires. There's nothing about dead batteries, right? So yeah, you gotta watch out. Or the corporations, right? If they start putting recalls on these vehicles, it's game over for the electric vehicles, right? The governments are so pro EV, but they're not going to recall them, right? So shame on you, governments. You are corrupt. You are evil.